Okay, looks like we're ready. Can everyone hear me?
Good. Yep.
Okay. All right, we'll get started. The May 22, 2023 Forest Grove School District Board of Directors meeting is called to order at 5:31 p.m. Roll call vote of board members present. I'm present. Mark Everett.
Present. Carol.
I'm present. Kate Grandesky. Present. Miley Vernon.
Okay, thank you. If you would join me in the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, introductions of audience and staff. I don't know who's there, but we'll just go through the, it's okay.
Chair of Student Services.
Enrique Pinion, Technology. David, Communications. John O'Neill, Assistant Secretary. Mark Hughes, Facilities.
Eileen Clute, Business.
Okay, thank you. Approval of tonight's agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda for tonight?
Second.
You say as amended.
As amended.
As amended.
As amended.
Yes.
As amended. Okay, right.
I'll second.
Okay, moved and seconded. Yes, for me. Brad?
Yes.
And
Yeah.
Kate? Okay, great. Thank you.
Arthur just walked in.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes, okay, great. Okay, Miley, I'm sure you have a student representative report.
Yep, I do.
Okay,
Okay, so, last time I think I came here, I was saying that our sparrow Tristan was gonna come in. He came in, it went very well. All the students got to take pictures with him, give him gifts. There was like a whole food photo booth type thing, that they could take pictures with him. And then softball, obviously we're Vallis tonight. They're at their playoff game. It should have already started against McNary. And then state for track is this weekend. Our spring sports assembly will be on Thursday, and then a couple of senior sunset is gonna be on June 2nd. And then Kirkman wanted me to let you know, that we will probably be partnering with Communicare next year for community improvement. It's basically what I have heard so far is it's grants that we like ask for, and then it will help with like whatever we really need. So it also helps with Sparrow, and we can get money for them too. He also put in there, I'm just gonna say it, he said also hashtag make Glencoe our rivals. So take that as you want. Other than that, right now we're kind of just building on for next year and getting ready for that. For ASB, our transition to the new power, so the new president will be on June 2nd as well. We'll be switching over, and so from that day on, they will be good. Other than that, just graduation's coming up, and so a lot of finals and stuff in classes, but that's about it.
okay, thank you. Thanks, Miley. All right, Mr. Parker, turn it over to you.
Thank you. First, I wanted to start with just an update on the Cornelius Design Advisory Group. If you let me know kind of where we're at with that process. The original meetings did a lot of work, kind of they've now talked to well over 1,000 people with community members, students, and all the different groups that actually work in and around the district. They met with the design committee. They kind of took all that information in and began to kind of talk about what it means they've kind of narrowed all that information down into kind of 6 themes that they're, as they build this school, they're designing around. The first one being welcome and including. Their conversations with the community was all about how the school is part of that community. I mean, really strong part of that community. Second was reflect Cornelius culture. It's important that we reflect not only our Latin influences, but also it's been around a long time. It has a history. Celebrate the community connections. There's a lot of community connections in that space. Be comfortable and safe. So they're designing with that in mind. Invite play. They want the structure to be fun and to invite play. I was driving by there this weekend on Saturday, and again, there were probably 150, 200 kids out in the field playing soccer and families. And so again, I think it's just, again, a great theme for us. The last one was encourage academic excellence, which again, we're there for a purpose. They spent time with the design group kind of figuring out adjacencies, like what needs to be next to what. They did a fun little project. It looked like a pizza, I don't know. It's kind of a round, and then you would put the different things that if we know the library needs to be in here, then we put those pieces of the pie closer together. They've taken all of that and they've now kind of been through several rounds of schematics. Today, I mean, we're really close to kind of locking in a base schematic of the building. Kate saw it last time around. I'll try and send it out to the board so you can kind of get a look and see what they're talking about there. Today was the first time that they showed us in our Cornelius meeting, kind of, they're starting to talk about the outside and what it looks like and what the materials will be like. There's a lot of conversation in the DAG about trying to bring in not only materials that last, but also bringing in some of our Latin culture, some of the Cornelius culture. And there's buildings all around it, the new library in Virginia Garcia. We don't want to build a building that just totally doesn't have some way of kind of matching those pieces. So they're beginning to now put some outside thoughts together. They're going to get started. They're actually going to be done with the schematic sometime near the end of this month, just the next week or so, and then they'll start moving into more detailed work, design. Kind of, they know what where the space is now. They'll start actually designing more what is that space and what goes into that. So that's what's going on with the DAG. Again, Kate is a member of that, so if you have questions, you can direct them to me or to Kate. I don't know if you have any thoughts kind of just on how that's going.
I think it's going really well. The team and the community and the architects and the environmental people that are looking at the landscape, you know, they're just very open and receptive, and it's been a real fun experience being on the team. And yes, they're addressing the library and making sure that there's adequate space, because it's a school that is, you know, we need books in English, we need bilingual books, and we need books in Spanish. And so you need to really accommodate that collection. And I think that was one of the oversights at Joseph Gale, that we didn't really realize all of the needs, because there's also chapter book sets that needed to be put at Joseph Gale. And so, and you know, one of the questions I had is, when you build a new building, do you get to buy new books? Is there an allocation of money for the library, you know, for new books for the library?
So we can talk more about that. What I do know is the current library will go there.
Right.
And then there is a place for us to spend a little more time talking about where that budget's going to end up. I don't know if you have an exact answer, but
We haven't created the budget for the specific things, but typically when we do build a new building, there's new furniture, new equipment. Some things will roll into the, depending on how old they are, so there might be a blend, but we have not talked specifically about individual equipment or individual room on what moves and what doesn't.
Well, I was gonna suggest that, Linda Taylor, who's a retired bilingual, librarian from Fort City Library, she would be, really an approachable, I believe, person to help with that, because I know the person that's there is an aide and he's doing a great job, but he's only 19 and he doesn't have that breadth and understanding like Linda Taylor has, and I know she would be happy to help us out. Did I get my plug in? Yeah. Is it green?
Just a suggestion, because we have I heard they talk about, kind of embarking other cultures and historical pieces. So it might be kind of neat to think about it, maybe and thought about, we do sit on Calafia land and possibly doing something, even like a piece of rock, a memorial of some sort, just acknowledging the land that the school sits on historically, and also possibly can be used as context for the children during Thanksgiving or things like that, to be able to kind of know the history of it, incorporate it in curriculum. So just thought.
That's a good idea, yeah.
Last comment I wanted to make was kind of when I know you've all been receiving emails from concerned Dilly parents about the K-1 blend. Just wanted to talk a little bit about that, just to make sure we have the right information out there. Currently, there's 33 students in the kindergarten. Next year, we're forecasting 33 students in first grade and 33 students in kindergarten. We've got the right allocation of FTE with this current budget. Across the district, we try and put, our average is 23.5. And for the last 3 years, when class sizes have been vastly underneath that average, we haven't gone back in and changed them because of that. It's been we've had ESSER money, we've had SIA money, we've had ways for us to just leave that, but that's ending. ESSER money is going away. SIA, we still have it, but it's actually allocated. COLAs went up, so we have to allocate more of our SIA away from class size reduction. So we are still looking at this. This budget that was approved, not approved, but it was allocated last week. It's a 9.9 state school fund. We've got several places in this budget that I have some concerns about. Dilly's not the only place where we've had to make a couple of tough decisions like this. So I think one of the first things that we need to start looking at is we've opened up some intra-district transfers, intra and inter-district, trying to pull some more students into Dilly. We'd rather have the closer to 40, 42 in those grade levels for us to be able to justify the 2 staff members. We're also out there lobbying because the real problem here is the $9.9 billion insufficient budget. That's a deficit of $6.3 million in our budget caused by that state school fund. So again, we're out right now working, trying to improve that. They've got, just in this last May forecast, they've got an extra $400 million, or it might be $300 million in the corporate kicker. That's the new forecast. That's on top of what they have. That money right there takes them from 9.9 billion to 10.3 billion, or 10.2 billion, which is closer to what we need. So for us, we're going to continue working on getting those slots up. We'll continue to lobby and get kind of a fair state school fund. And then I just wanted you to know, there's actually a couple more spots in the district where there's some challenges. And we haven't gotten to August, September, where we'll start to find where the bubbles are. But it's just, we were watching them. We've got our eyes on them.
It just seems a little early right now to be really, and the principals get their allocations based on that budget then?
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess making sure that the staff know way early in the game, start having those kind of discussions. Maybe the forecast,
Yeah,
some ideas, but
I
I
think-
think they're gonna change.
they will. Our challenge is we still have to staff based on the budget that we know.
Right.
And other problem that I'm hearing is that this session's coming to an end. We don't have any evidence that the Senate Republicans are gonna come back. And so the chances that we're gonna get this done by June 15th, I think are rapidly decreasing daily. Which means it will most likely go to a special session. What we're hearing is that they would do the special session with like 2 or 3 specific things in mind. But even then, we still probably not are gonna know till July 30th. And we have to start placing people. We have to start moving them based on the budget that we have. So that's just kind of where we're at with Dilly. I know there's some real challenges there, but. And that's all my comments tonight, unless there are questions.
You know, it wouldn't be my first choice to do a K1, K1 blend. I mean, because those are really the, pre-kinder,
Yep.
kinder K1. So, is there any other way to do a blend at Dilly instead of K1?
We can talk a little bit more about that, except for their class sizes in the other areas are not. They're more, basically it's K1 next year that we're expecting to have the lower class sizes. The other grade levels fit into the 2 sections fine. But we're still a ways away, like Brad's saying, we still have some problem solving to do. There may be some staffing that we have to take care of, but there's a lot that's gonna happen here. And the bubbles that we know, I mean, kindergarten's always a crapshoot to try and forecast. But I wanted you to know what's going on out there. Like I said, Dilly's not my only, there's 2 other places particularly that I can already see we could have some issues with. One is at Echo Shaw and one is at Joe Gale that we're watching.
So my second concern is letting teachers go. I mean, there's a shortage of teachers.
We're not letting anybody.
We're not letting.
There are some moves that are happening right now,
Okay.
but we do have to place people and we have to place them based on the budget that we have right now.
I mean, I guess, once they're out the door, other schools will snatch them up and
No,
we're not gonna let anybody go.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Unscheduled public appearance. The board appreciates community members sharing information during public comments. Public comments will be made in person or submitted through the designated form on the webpage to be read by district staff or registered Zoom participants who indicated through the form they wanted to provide their comment live. Public comments will be limited to 3 minutes and as is the protocol for board meetings. Public criticism or complaints about school district personnel are not allowed at this time. Are there any public comments?
No.
No. No, okay, all right, thank you. The consent agenda is made up of routine non-controversial items to be voted on under one motion. Are there any items within the consent items a board member or the superintendent wishes to discuss separately? And I can't, if you have some, you can just yell out, but otherwise I don't see any. So, okay, I'll move that we approve the consent agenda. Okay. Yes for me. Kate,
Yes, for Kate.
Brad,
Yes.
and Narcy.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. We move on to presentations, the strategic plan draft from Mr. Parker.
Tonight, last Friday, we emailed you kind of a draft of the strategic plan and also kind of a group map that you begin to provide some feedback to us. You can always just, that doesn't fit right, you can always just email me your feedback. But I wanted to just give you a little bit of like how we got to this draft. So you have a little bit of knowledge, and then you have as much time as you need to do the rest. I wanted to start with the fact that this started 5 years ago. We went out in the first year and did 30+ community meetings, kind of identifying again, what our community wanted to see in our graduates. We came from all of that data, we kind of got our district values, to care deeply, stand strong, adapt and grow. Kind of our purpose and promise started to come from that. Right after that period of time, we had the pandemic, and then we kind of got distracted. Although the values, the maxims worked really well for us as we were trying to make decisions. Last year, we started to pick this work up again, and we wanted to go back out and do two things. One is kind of identify the attributes that we want to make sure our graduates lead with. And then two, we wanted to just double check and make sure that the data that we received from the community hadn't changed during the pandemic. And so we went back out last spring. We went through, we did a thought exchange, we did some other pieces, and we identified kind of these 6 attributes. The comforting thing about it is these are actually the same 6 attributes that we would have chosen from our original data. So I don't think what the expectations were really changed much over that period of time. And so in the strategic planning kind of timeline here, the prepare and envision, that was actually the work that we've done the last 5 years. It was kind of developing those district values, the maxims, purpose and promise, kind of getting the portrait of a graduate. And so in January, we sat a team of which Mark and Brad were attending and part of. And we took, again, along with our integrated guidance, we had a lot of data that we were bringing together this year. So that team in January, the design team, sat down with the data. We kind of went through a process, and then we began to narrow down kind of what do we need to get focused around. We are then designing this strategic plan. That's where what you're actually going to look at and provide some feedback on. The next steps will be to basically approve this, and then we'll start into the launch and starting to measure its success. So just so you can kind of see where we're at in the timeline. I'll share this presentation with you, but it has all of, there's 51 folks on the design team. The design team, kind of what they did is develop what the big goals were with what they were looking for. And then we had sets of writing teams that came together to start trying to put some details on this. This is mostly administrators. It's also informed by our COSAs, who also got to work in these areas. And then currently we've got all of this out in front of our staff, and we're getting feedback on all of it too. The very first meeting we started looking at and start talking about SWOT, our strengths, our weaknesses, our opportunities, and then the threats. And so we divided our group up into 5 or 4. Well, there were actually more than that. There was like 6 sets of tables. We went through and started to identify these. The basic strengths that they found: elementary school social and learning climate, teacher-student relationships, work of school counselors, attempts at communication from teachers to school, and then support students get from school staff. Those were strengths that we saw. Some of the opportunities were secondary social and learning climate. There was a lot of talk about safety. It was a huge issue as we were talking to kids, to parents, everyone. Teacher-student relationships, how are we fostering that sense of belonging? How are kids connected to schools? Family engagement was probably our lowest area as you go through the data. And I'll explain that coming up, because in some places it was also a strength. Staff teacher support, culture and climate, attendance was again a big issue. The family engagement was interesting, because what they said is, in some aspects they said, yeah, you're communicating a lot. And so some folks are saying, hey, you guys communicate great. And then we had a probably larger section of the group said, you're not communicating in a way that connects with us, that we like, or that we're using. And so this was a big conversation for us. Okay, this screen, you can't read it, but all I wanted to show is that there was like a whole bunch of ideas that our design team came up with. Each line here, and when you look at the presentation later, you'll see just how many ideas. And then we as a group then began to try and group those ideas into areas. And then what we did is we went through each of these areas, and on the right-hand side there's like a little thermometer. And so we had everybody in the groups begin to prioritize which of these areas were more important than others. And the design team ended up with kind of these 6 areas: equity and inclusion. Financial stewardship was really this idea that in our strategic plan, we've got to have something where we're improving our organization, like how we run our schools. Family and student engagement was an obvious area for us. Social emotional learning, I think we changed some of these names coming up here: behavioral health and wellness. Academic learning and engagement, again, we have to have a portion of this that's focused around instruction, and then safety became a very important piece. What you'll see in the document that you'll read later on your own time, there's kind of 4 main areas that we ended up with. Equity and inclusion, we did not make its own area because of what we saw was we needed equity and inclusion in our academic learning, the instruction and learning piece. We needed equity in our hiring practices. We needed equity in the behavioral health and wellness. So we didn't make it its own area, but when you go through and read the strategies and objectives, you should see equity represented in all of these areas. The other one that we collapsed was safety, because we felt it was part of making our organization better. So we moved safety up into this kind of resilient organization, is what we'll do later. So we ended up with 4 big areas: instruction and learning, behavioral health and wellness, family and student engagement, and then the last one is this resilient organization, which kind of has business practices, it has the HR practices, and then it has kind of our safety. Now, one of the questions that's come up as this has gone out, started being looked at in the organization, is this issue of, well, hey, well, I can tell you, like in instruction and learning, one of the strategies is really around literacy and math. And I think, the way I'll explain this is we've got to make growth in literacy and math. That's got to be a high priority for us. And there's a lot of things that we're going to do in this district that aren't in this plan because of they're still, they're important to us. Science, social studies, these play areas, electives, all of those are important, and we have lots of work going on there. But in the strategic plan are some of the highest priorities. So as you read it, you may have questions about, well, why isn't there more information about science? It's because of right now, pretty much, I feel a lot of responsibility to make some growth in literacy and math, which is what you'll read there. And so I think the basic structure of the strategic plan is there's a goal, there's 1 to 3 objectives, and then there's some number of strategies for every single one of those objectives. The action plan, this has to be workable for us for 5 years. And so as you start to get closer to the strategies is where you'll see the details. And then we'll also break out these strategies into action plans, like the actual things that we'll end up doing. And for next year. And then the year after that, in the spring, we'll look at what needs to be done and work out the action plan for that.
Dave, I have a question.
Yeah.
You just talked about the structure.
Yeah.
Is that action plan going to have like additional boxes? Obviously it will, but I've seen a lot of these throughout my career. Here at the school district and everywhere else I've been. And this is great, but if it doesn't say who, who's responsible for the development and the conduct identified, who, the cost, and the measurements. For, you know, is it John, who is it, you know, who's responsible at the end of the day? So I'm curious about what that structure will look like. Yeah.
That is the action. Exactly, like as you begin to break these out, what I can tell you is like in the instruction, under instruction, there's kind of, the first part is to, one of the issues that we're having in managing is that we don't have a defined vision of what great instruction looks like in the classroom. We have everybody, I mean, we're all educators, so we all have lots of ideas about what great instruction looks like. We have to come to an agreement on that. We're going to need to do that work first thing, but the second kind of objective around the integrating those attributes into our curriculum, we're not going to start that work until we actually start working on this first piece. You might start getting organized, but this thing has to last for 5 years. So these things, some of these things won't be accomplished in totality for years. The action pieces, defining roles, that's, as we begin to look at these strategies, that is the work, that is exactly what will happen. The other thing that isn't here yet are the success measures, which is how are we going to determine when we're hitting it? We're working on those right now. We should have them in the final document, but that's also for the board to be able to hold us accountable to these pieces is with those success measures. And so those are being developed too. But the role and who's responsible, absolutely. It's
the count all on you?
no, absolutely not. And the other piece here is like, what was I just thinking? Oh, I totally lost it. I had my thought went through there. That I'll blast in. The roles though, who's doing what is going to be, oh, I know, I was thinking, which is, we've all been through these strategic plans before, and making it a living, breathing, like we know what we're doing, that's the important part. Otherwise, it sits on the shelf. My plan would be, there's a couple of things that I know I need to put in my goals next year that are specific, but really this is my, this is, and that task list that we work up, that's kind of like the work that, and that's how we show whether or not we're making progress is, comes to work. Other questions? And we have about a week and a half, 2 weeks for you to we sent you a group map on Friday to begin to enter in your stuff. If that's too limiting, you're welcome just to email me. But I have, I think the 31st is when we really need to kind of, if there's a major, this has been through a lot of eyes, like every word has a purpose on the document. So again, there's, and the design teams had a whole bunch of input. So making big changes isn't really possible. But if there is something, we want to know about it now, so we could, if we need to, we can still change it.
I appreciate the embedding of the institution and everything. I think that's pretty awesome.
And it should, I mean, it exists pretty much throughout this document. There's a real conversation about trying to break historical patterns. And so hopefully as you read it, you'll see some of the pieces.
Okay. Thank you. We'll move on to the action items. We have a number of them this evening. The first is the Forest Grove Community School contract, 2023 to 2029. Second reading. Is that right? Okay. And John O'Neill, John.
Okay, again, attached is proposed 5-year contract with community school, minor changes, again, were highlighted in red. This was presented at the last meeting, May 8th, for your review, along with a formal site visit and comprehensive evaluation. It's the recommendation of the district administration to approve the Forest Grove School District community school contract for the 23-28 school year as presented. And we just wanted to give one follow-up. We were asked about, what kind of equity trainings and sessions have they participated in? So I sent a communication to Vanessa and she replied, last year they had 3 sessions with the Oregon Center for Educational Equity, CP, in addition to staff book group meetings on diversity, equity, and inclusion topics. This year, they have continued the staff work by having PD on gender and gender identity and cultural competency. And as you know, reading the contract, that was an additional state law language that was written in the red. So they're working on it. So again, first of all, are there any questions? Okay, thank you.
So I'll make the motion, Mark.
Okay.
I move to approve the Forest Grove Community School contract as presented.
I'll second.
Okay. Any comments? No. Okay. I'll vote yes for that. Kate,
Yes.
Brad, and Darcy.
No.
Okay. The motion passes. Thank you very much. Northwest Regional Education Service District Zone 2 election. Mr. Parker?
Okay, there was, last time around, there was one applicant. And he was the longtime superintendent for Seaside, and so we're back here to take action this week.
Okay, I'll make the motion. I move to elect Doug Doherty to fulfill the full-term vacancy of Northwest Regional Education Service District Zone 2 to begin July 1, 2023.
Second.
All right. Comments? No. I'm yes for me. Brad?
Yes.
And Kate
Yes.
and Narcy.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. That motion passes. The third item is letters, and Elena Santana, District Title I and Literacy Coordinator, will speak to this.
Yeah, hi, good evening. We're requesting an increase in spending. I talked to you guys in April and we approved 36,000 to be spent toward letters for teachers, letters their one professional learning education course. We have had a really unexpected but amazing turnout of interest from teachers. We capped it at 15 because we really thought like a pre-survey that was about as many were going to be interested. We have 31 teachers from our pre-K 6 schools that are interested in doing year 1 of letters. So I'm requesting an increase of 21,000 to a total of 57,000 for year 1. The overage will come out of the Title I carryover that's been approved previously.
That's great. Yeah, wonderful. Okay, I move that we approve the additional 21,000 for letters, professional development course, and instruction materials for district staff. 2023-24 and 2024-25 school year with a total not to exceed 57,000. Second.
All right, moved and seconded. No comments. Don't see. Yes for me. Darcy
Yes.
and Kate
Yes.
and Brad.
Yes.
Okay, that passes. Thank you. Neil Armstrong Middle School track replacement, Eileen.
Evening. So tonight we have the Neil Armstrong Middle School track replacement. This is going to be a full track replacement. And it includes the removal of the current track, repairing the subgrade, full D zone, the drainage, the civil engineering, and the resurfacing of the track. So the full scope is $1,116,954 with Benyon Sports.
I'll make the motion.
Okay,
So I move to approve the Binion Sports purchase for the new Neil Armstrong Middle School track for $1,116,954.
seconded. Okay. Yes, for me, Kate
Yes.
and Narce
Yes.
and Brad.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Tom McCall Upper Elementary School track replacement.
This
Eileen.
one is, thank you. Sorry. This one's the Tom McCall Upper Elementary School track replacement. And this is not a full replacement like the Neil Armstrong one. It's repairing the sinkage and the cracks and then resurfacing of the current track. And it does include constructing the stormwater drainage around in between the field and the track itself, and field maintenance in the center. It's not a field upgrade or improvement, just general field maintenance to make it safe. This contract is with the same vendor as the prior one, and it's for $573,145.
I move the administration, I move that we approve the Binion Sports purchase for the new TNC track for 573.145. I'll second.
Okay, so moved and seconded. So let's see, Narce,
Yes.
Brad,
Yes.
Kate,
Yes.
and yes for me as well. Thank you. One more, or maybe, yeah, one more here. Taylor Way parking bus entrance asphalt replacement.
So this one is for the asphalt replacement in front of Taylor Way, from the street to the gate. It's pretty deteriorating and failing, and so we have two bids. The third contractor declined the bid. We have Haas Paving and Five Star, and for this project, we'd like to award it to Haas Paving for $55,480.
All right, I move to award the contract to Haas Paving for the Taylor Way bus entrance for $55,480, utilizing bond funds.
Second.
All
I
right.
have a question.
Uh-huh.
So why isn't the city paying for it? Is it our property?
It is on our property. It's from the street to the gate, but it is on the inside of our property.
I'm trying to visualize where it is. Oh. So that's private property, it's not the city.
Ours.
Oh,
Soon
okay.
as- Yeah, as soon as you leave the concrete, that street is concrete out front. So as soon as you leave that to the gate of where the buses go through,
Okay.
Count and staff use it to come around that loop.
Yeah, because I was thinking when you turn in there and fall paved. Okay, I got it now. I got it. Thanks.
All right. Take the vote. Yes for me, Kate,
Yes.
Brad,
Yes.
and Narce.
Yes.
Great, thank you. Let's see, Language Live software from John O'Neill, Assistant Superintendent.
Thank you. As you know, the district purchased Language Live software program to address student writing and reading needs last year as part of our locally adopted language arts instructional materials adoption last spring for grades 7 through 12. Language Live is a comprehensive literacy intervention program for struggling students in grades 5 through 12. And in the board packet are data points for the amount of students impacted and their learning. The district requests approval of language live software program for the next 3 years with a 1-year cost of $30,957 for the 23-24 school year. Funding coming school year for this coming school year will be paid for by Measure 98 funds.
Who will administer and oversee this program academy?
Who administers it? The classroom teachers.
Oh,
It's part of their instructional program.
oh,
Is this, language, the same company that we had that language reading program that we had a number of years ago?
A long time ago.
Yeah.
This was, yeah, I had this down in California too long ago,
Yeah.
32 years ago.
Yeah, I remember all those textbooks we had on language, but now they're doing a software program.
And digital, and it tracks individual student progress, and the teachers get real-time feedback. So it's pretty neat.
Okay, other questions? No? All right, yes, for me, Narse.
Motion, Mark.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I move to approve the language live
Oh, yeah,
software
right, sorry.
for the next 3 years with a 1-year cost of $30,957 for 2023-24 school year, using funding from Measure 98 fund.
I'll second.
Well, actually, now I do have a question though, John, before we take the vote. So 3957 for the first year, and then is it years 2 and 3 are unknown at this time? Is it?
Yes, what we're trying to do is get approval for board approval for the purchase of the fleet. But we have to negotiate that year by year.
Okay,
And we also want to make sure that it continues to have the positive impact that we have had this year with our students. So the data is very promising. We want to make sure that we continue.
so John, why wouldn't we just do it a 1-year request? And, come back in year 2, and I mean, why wouldn't we do that?
What, do you want to answer? Or do you want me to?
This is the 1-year request, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just a 1-year.
Oh, I
request.
see, okay,
Approval for 3 years, should the data pan out that it does support the program.
But you'll need to come back the second year once you've negotiated the cost, and it's over a certain dollar.
Over 50,000,
Yeah.
yes. We just want to make sure the board knows about this.
And it's a single source software, correct?
Yes,
Yeah, that's why it's here. It's under 50,000, but there's only one maker. It's not like we can go get 3 quotes.
Okay.
But Mark's question is still hanging, which is why do we approve it for 2 years or just to bring it back for the,
we were hoping to save our hero the need to do this every time this year. It's pretty challenging to keep track of all the software and when it was approved. Like
okay,
I'm coming back for the health curriculum real soon, but we approved it for 3 years. We have to come back for the 1 more year. So that would equal a 6-year adoption cycle from the state. But those are kind of things that can trip us up accidentally. But
okay. So John, just to be clear, this isn't, when we sign whatever we're gonna sign, we're not absolutely committed for 3 years with them, or are we?
we are not.
Okay,
We are-
all right, maybe that's my question, really.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
we're just asking
okay.
board approval.
Got it, got it,
up
got it.
to 3 years, But we also want to take a look at the data, make sure that
Right.
it's having an impact.
Okay, I'm sorry to make this so complicated. It's really, okay, all right, I'm done with questions. Anybody else? No? Okay, I will vote yes for this. And Narse,
yes.
Brad? And Kate?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next one, no red ink software, John.
Excellent. And this was the other software supplemental instructional materials that we brought to the board last year. It supplements our local adoption for grade 7 through 12. No red ink assist with the development of writing skills, then measure student progress digitally for teacher reference in an ongoing manner. At Neil Armstrong, 73,539 questions were answered at the time I wrote this. 1,836 topics mastered by 733 students through their language arts classrooms. And at Forest Grove High School, 81,000 questions been answered, over 4,000 topics mastered by 1,197 students, including 1,229 writing samples for students, which is really helpful with our teachers. So the district requests approval for no reading software purchase for the next 3 years with 1 year cost of $16,984 for both schools for the 23-24 school year, paid for from Measure 98 funds.
So I'm just wondering at some point if we could have a discussion around this 3-year thing with the 1 year. I think it warrants a discussion, not maybe tonight at the board meeting.
Well, what if you, because the 2 words for the next 3 years, what if we just said up to the next 3 years? Because it sounds like we're going to bring back the cost
If
next
you-
year.
Yeah, for negotiating different costs. I'm good with that.
Okay, same here.
Mark, you all right with that?
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you. So I'll make a motion. I move to approve the no red ink software purchase for the next 3 years with the 1 year cost of $16,984 for both Forest Grove High School and Neil Armstrong Middle School for the 2023-24 school year using Measure 98 funds.
I'll second.
All right. Vote on this, Narcisse,
Yes.
Brad,
Yes.
Kate,
Yes.
yes for me as well. Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Eileen with the Tomahawk East Upper Elementary School parking lot paving.
So we have one more parking lot for repaving this summer. It is part of the bond fund. It's the Tomahawk East parking lot. We did the bus loop a few years ago with remaining bond funds from the last fund. And so now this is doing the parking spaces and the rest of that bus loop. We had 2 quotes, one from Haas Paving and one from 5 Star. Montana did not provide a quote for us. And we are asking the board to approve $142,027 for 5 Star Paving.
All right, any questions? All right, oh, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Go
Oh,
ahead.
okay. I make a motion that the board award the contract for 5 Star Paving to the Tomahawk East Upper Elementary School parking lot for $142,027 utilizing bond funds.
I second. Any comments or discussion? All right, vote on this. Yes for me, Kate,
Yes.
Brad,
Yeah.
and Narcisse. Okay, thank you. Neil Armstrong Middle School kitchen remodel, Eileen.
This one we are really excited about. It's remodeling the kitchen at Neil Armstrong. With the pandemic and having free meals and federal assistance for our meal services, we were able to accumulate a fund balance in that account. And we have a limit where we can only have 3 months worth of expenditures as a fund balance. And one of the things that we're looking at is we went and looked at what is included in the bond for kitchen and what's not included in the bond for kitchen. And one of our challenges is Neil Armstrong, the way the flow of services is where you go through the door and then you come out the door. This project that we're doing is going to take out that wall in between and have more of an open flow similar to what the high school is. So you can see in, it'll be a lot easier access, more visibility and better supervision for the area. So that's one of the big projects that we're working on with the excess food service funds that we have. And the project itself is going to include kitchen equipment and a lot of different components. This one that we have for you tonight is the construction piece of it. It's with COP Construction. And their estimate is about 55,000 for their portion. And that's what we're looking at. We had 2 other vendors decline the bid just because on the constraints of the time. We need to get the project going and hopefully done by June 30th, by the end of the fiscal year. So we do have some time constraints with this one, but the request tonight is COP Construction, award the contract to COP Construction for up to 55,000.
So we include up to 55,000.
Please.
I'm a little confused, it says 150,000,
That's the overall
that's
project.
the whole project.
Right.
Oh, okay, and you're just looking at one portion, okay.
Right. When I did the cover sheet last week, we didn't have the quote yet. We've been trying to get moving on it. And so I put more information on the overall project in the cover, but including the kitchen equipment and all the components, that's our budget.
Thank you.
So I move to approve the proposed contract with construction for Neil Armstrong kitchen renovation for up to 55,000.
Second. Okay. All right, a vote on this. Narcisse,
Yes.
Brad,
Yes.
Kate,
Yes,
and I'm a yes as well. Thank you. Forest Grove High School Lab Computers, Enrique Pino.
The action item before you tonight is to approve the purchase of replacement desktop computers to the labs at Forest Grove High School. These are the labs that support the digital design, also video production, and also computer programming. The current computers they have are not sufficient to support the curriculum, especially the things we're doing today with the digital design and video production. So they've been piloting some computers, and the teachers settled on a computer. So what we are asking today is for the approval of replacement lab computers from CDWG that will be purchased using Measure 98 ESSER funds. It's split between the two for a total cost of $134,997.84. We are putting the stipulation here that we'd like to recommend, like to request your approval to go with CDWG or an alternate vendor should we find one that has a lower price or potentially another product, because we are finding there's a supply chain problem still, especially with graphics parts. But what we found is that the big item the teacher settled on, it's possible that another vendor may have them and CDWG may not be able to provide them. So we want the flexibility to go, no, not above that price, but find the vendor that actually has stock.
Enrique, the price is $134,997.84.
84 cents.
Yeah. 84 cents.
let's be
This
exact.
we're off the quote.
Oh. Mark, I think this one's yours.
Okay, I move. Now I have, it's hard for me to hear. I didn't hear the exact dollar figure. So is it, what was it?
You want me to do it?
Yeah, because I can't, it's a little muffled.
I heard the exact dollar figure. I move to approve the purchase of Forest Grove High School lab computers using Measure 98 and ESSER funds from CEWG or an alternative vendor that is able to provide the computers at the equal or lower costs should supply availability problem occur for $134,997.84.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I would have got that wrong. Okay,
I'll second it.
is it seconded then? Okay, and a vote on this. Yes for me, Kate,
Yes,
and Brad, and Narcisse.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Instructional assistant computer purchase from Enrique again.
The next action item before you is the approval of computers for our instructional assistants. Currently, our instructional assistants ones that needed computers that had used being older equipment as end of life and no longer supported. We did apply for federal funding from the FCC through the Emergency Connectivity Fund. We have been preliminarily approved for the funding. It's a reimbursement program, so they would reimburse the district for the funds used to purchase these devices. We're just waiting for that final approval letter. So we would like to recommend that the board approve the purchase of instructional system Chromebooks from SHI pending final approval of the CF funding request for a total amount of $120,000.
How many Chromebooks would that equal?
That's 300.
300. So I will make a motion to recommend the purchase of the instructional assistant Chromebooks from SHI pending final approval of the ECF funding request. That's $120,000. Excuse me.
Moved and seconded, okay. All right, the vote on this, Narcisse
Yes.
and Kate?
Yes.
Brad?
Yes.
And I'm a yes as well. That motion passes. Okay, I think that's it for the action items. Future board items and board discussion. Are there any items board members would like to add to the current list? Are there any committees or other activities board members have attended that they would like to report on?
Mark, I would like us to discuss maybe moving our board meetings to the first and the third Mondays instead of the second and the fourth, so that some of the members of the board can attend the city council meetings, which are now the second and the fourth.
Okay. So we'll put that as a future discussion, or,
Yeah,
okay. Can we add that for board discussion?
Yeah, we're kind of working up the calendars, Mark, and then we should be able to do it the 12th, June 12th.
Okay,
And future action item around that.
okay. All right, anything else?
Yeah, I think the other thing I would say is I think this was Wiley's last meeting.
Oh, okay.
One more? No, this is
I
it.
can come to the other one. I can do the next one, do that one. Okay.
Great. Perfect.
So this isn't your last one?
Yeah, I'll have one.
Yeah, one more.
Okay, all right, okay.
Yeah, I'll see if I can do
That was
Okay. All right. Okay, with that, I think we will adjourn the meeting this evening at 6:33 p.m. Thank you, everyone.